What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the Benfica Podcast, episode number 416. And here we are on a joyous, momentous occasion. Just tonight, just myself and Dave. What's going on, Dave?
Nothing much. Alfredo, great to be on. I think this is one of the few times that we're looking forward to coming on to a Benfica podcast. It's been far and few between these last couple of seasons. Sad part is it's just to qualify for the Champions League. It's not even like we've won something, but I guess we won the 40 million or whatever the amount is this year to be included into the group stage of the Champions League. But as always, great to be back on here tonight.
Yeah, man. Look, I don't think I've been as excited to come on a podcast for a long time. And like you said, I mean, it's just to qualify for the Champions League, right? So it's not something that is that's a win over Manchester City or Man United or Juventus like we had in the Europa League, but certainly one of the objectives that was delineated for this early in the season was to have a very good August, and that very good August also included the qualification for the Champions League, in which we had to play 4 games. So it wasn't going to be an easy task, especially early on. Teams still getting acclimated. A lot of guys just coming from the preseason with heavy legs. Then you got an August with 8 games, which with these 4 qualifiers for the Champions League. So it was always going to be a hard task. And I'm sure that, or I'm glad that Benfica was able to qualify. And not only because of Benfica's history, right? That we deserve to be in the Champions League, or it's our rightful right to be in the Champions League every year. Even though sometimes we're not going to make it. Obviously, we finished 3rd this past season, and that doesn't qualify us automatically. But we're hopefully on the right track to be there after missing out last year, to be there now in consequent years. But before we get into that, let's talk about what we got going on tonight. We're obviously going to recap the 2 games that we played against PSV. We're also recap the Gil Vicente game, which is a game that was sandwiched in between this PSV game. We'll talk about Waldschmidt leaving, the new guy coming in, Serbian Radonjic coming in on a loan with an option to buy, and we'll look ahead to Tondela, which is a game that comes up this weekend before the league breaks for international duty. So welcome, everyone. I already see that the chat's pretty active. Appreciate everybody tuning in and joining in our chat and talking about Benfica. So welcome, join the conversation, send your questions, and we'll get to them as soon as possible. Obviously, as you can see, Cristiano is not here. Cristiano is usually the life of the party of the podcast. I'll be more than happy to admit that he's not here. Couldn't be here today. I'm sure that he wish he could be here today, but unfortunately couldn't be here. So let's get things started and let's get the Gil Vicente game out of the way, Dave. And Benfica played Gil Vicente this past weekend in a game that, like I said, it was sandwiched in between this PSV and this PSV fixture. So we'll start with the lineup. 6 changes from the first leg with PSV. Vlachodimos was in goal. Verissimo, Otamendi, Morato. Gil on one side and Gil on the other side. And Dave, I can tell you that
Gil Vicente, so the triple Gils.
2 Gils don't make a right. Maite and Tarabt was in the middle. Were in the middle. Ramos and Everton on the wings. And Yaramchuk up front. Dave, even though there was 5 changes, we still see some guys that really can't get the rest, right? Especially that back third, Verissimo, Otamendi, and Morato. Obviously, Morato is deputizing for Vertonghen, which got hurt in the first leg against PSV, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I am mistaken.
Yeah, I'm getting all these games confused with all these matches in like 3 weeks here. But it was either the first leg or the second leg of the Spartak game, one of the 2 there. But I was surprised too, because I thought reading going into the match that JJ was going to revert to a 4-4-2 to rest one of those 3 center back pairings for the second leg ultimately here. But he just still decided to go with the 3 center backs for Gil Vicente as well. But I was surprised about that going into the match.
Yeah, look, I think that is ultimately, I think that's going to be our setup that's going to be used for most of the season. And look, good signs from Benfica with Tarap hitting the upright, but Gil Vicente was nicely organized in the back and compact, and really made it hard for Benfica to penetrate. Benfica with some tired legs, obviously with some changes. I personally didn't like the Gonçalo Ramos introduction, especially where he was set up. He wasn't set up up front, but he was set up in more of a Rafa's position. That's not Gonçalo Ramos. Gonçalo Ramos is a guy that plays in the box. And being that he was on the outside, he was less involved, less of a target. So I don't know if I really like that. But look, it was a really tough game for Benfica. Not the best of halves, but certainly I didn't think that Benfica was really out of control or wasn't in control of the game against Gil Vicente. I just thought that Gil Vicente was really organized in the first half. And what did you think of the game, Dave?
Yeah, they definitely were a team that was organized, and I know Chris had a laugh when I said they were undefeated coming into this game, being at 2 games. But you can tell that they are a team there that is well organized and could potentially pose a threat to one of the other bigger clubs in Portugal there, especially playing at home. It was definitely a frustrating game, especially in the first half. Not too many chances created there. But what I took away from it is, especially in the first half, when you see when João Mario is not playing, just the impact that he does have on this side here. He's a player that is able to connect the different sectors, and you could tell that was one of the pieces that was missing for Benfica in the first half.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that goes to show, and obviously João Mario and Pizzi being introduced in the second half to see if Benfica would be able to break into that Gil Vicente setup. But certainly, you could tell the difference. And look, the guy's he's not too flashy. He's not the guy that's going to dribble guys. He doesn't have the spin moves that Tarap has, but he's a guy that's almost like a Econo. Dave, you've heard of the term Econo, right? Is a guy that does it does a lot with very little, right? With little touches here and there, with little shows, opening passing lanes. And I think as the game developed, Gil Vicente also broke down, right? So their stamina wasn't the best, and they broke down. And as soon as they broke down, which basically coincided with João Mario coming in, it opened up more spaces in between lines for João Mario and players to operate in. We were fortunate enough to get that goal from Lucas Verissimo, and Benfica left it late in the 84th minute. And that after a shot from Pizzi, who really didn't seem like it was going anywhere, he mishit that ball. Lucas Verissimo added the presence of mind to kind of trap the ball and hit it with his left foot, and really he caught the goalkeeper off balance when the goalkeeper was following the trajectory of Pizzi's shot, where he was able to direct the ball to the other side of the goal, and Benfica was on the scoreboard. And like many of these games, really, the worst part is really getting that first in, and things after that kind of open up. And then Grimaldo would 4 minutes later would have that screamer that we see once every 20 shots from Grimaldo, that he's able to notch those balls that dip into the far corner. He's almost like a little bit of his trademark shot, much like Cebolinha has, that he cuts in and then he just angles the ball, or he curves the ball to the far post. Grimaldo, I've seen him score a few of those shots. So important win for Benfica, obviously. And when you look at, as I mentioned, the games that come fast and furious, it becomes extremely hard when you have to play this many games and when you're rotating the squad. But an extremely important win for Benfica, especially as I mentioned with turning the squad over. So another 3 points in the league, and obviously those trips up north that are never easy. But look, we got it. Dave, stats on this game, man.
Yeah, before we get into the stats, we're just gonna let your boy Darwin just get a free pass here on the podcast.
No, I think that Darwin is officially not my boy. And he's
You're not going to shed a tear for Darwin next time he scores a goal, takes the shirt.
No, I mean, look, I think that look, I think that there's obviously something there that mentally, and I kind of, as I'm watching that game, and I'm pretty sure that everybody remembers that the ball that was passed to him, I think. I want to say it was André Almeida that passed up the ball, or was it Gonçalo Ramos?
I think it was Ramos that made the pass.
Yeah, Gonçalo Ramos passed the ball, and basically he's running onto the ball out of the corner of his eye. I think he sees somebody moving behind him, so he did what he always does, which is not be selfish. Which I don't think it works for a lot of center forwards. And he kind of tried to like just sideswipe the ball with his foot, like on a little touch, like almost like a dummy touch, but with the touch for the guy that was behind him. But in that situation, you got to put your foot on that. You just got to put your laces on that, and you got to kill it, especially at the period of the game in which it was. Benfica needed a goal. But I kind of equated that to when I was a smaller lad or younger lad, and that I used to play with these older kids. My thing was always, obviously, I wasn't as skilled as older kids or faster than older kids. So my thing was always, I will play the simplest thing that's not going to get me in trouble. So never too audacious to take on somebody, lose the ball, and then be yelled at by the other guys. So it was always like simpler pass. I get the ball, I get rid of it, and I'm on to the next one. So I kind of like, I don't know if that's where his mind is at, but certainly he needs a lot of mental work because I just don't know how he's going to get past this, to be honest with you, Dave.
Yeah, it's great that you have yourself, Alfredo, and I love playing like with players like you that keep it simple, look for the open guy, make that touch. But the only position within that starting 11 that's allowed to be selfish is you want a selfish striker. You want him to take the shots 99% of the time, and especially with his high price tag, fairly or not fairly, he has those expectations placed on him now, and just given the circumstances, 80 plus minutes, you're given that opportunity. You have to take that shot and not look for the pass. And just time and time again, he's more looking to set somebody up rather than to be selfish and take the opportunity himself. But like I said, you don't like playing with selfish strikers, but God, that's the only position that you have to be selfish, and the best ones are selfish. So kind of disappointed with him always looking to make that extra pass and move, especially when he's kind of one-on-one with the keeper there.
Yeah, and Fabs is saying that the Gil Vicente game was a bit worrying with two defenders scoring. Hey, look, I'll grab 2 goals from anyone, even the guy that cuts the grass. If he scores, I'm in for it. Look, I think at this point it has to be a team effort. And JJ did say at the end of the game that the defenders are showing the midfielders and the attackers how to score a goal. Look, a goal is a goal coming from whoever it is. But yes, in the same manner, there was worrisome when Pizzi was our best scorer. Right?
I'm pretty sure this is like the second or third straight year where the midfielders and the defenders outscore the strikers to open up the season. I should be on that, being the stats guy here, but just as my memory, if my memory serves correct, the defenders were our main source of goals last season too, to open up the season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Dave, stats.
Yeah, some stats here. It's only the 5th time out of the last 20 seasons that Benfica has opened up the Portuguese league with 3 straight victories, 3 for 3. And Grimaldo with his 14th goal with a Benfica shirt. 7 out of his 14 goals have come outside the box. So like you spoke to earlier, Alfredo, his trademark goals coming from outside the box. Put it on his YouTube highlight reel and send it off to all the big European clubs so we can get a nice bid for him.
Yeah, he's not our best defender, but certainly is the best that we have. I don't know if I don't know. I wasn't sold on Gil Diaz, and the more I see him play, the less sold I am. And understanding that Gil Diaz's natural position is not a left back, he's obviously being adapted. I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I think that he's got some speed, and he's got feet at times, but I'm thinking that maybe Servi would have been a better left back than Gil Diaz. What does everybody think in the chat? You guys think that Servi could be a better left back than Gil Diaz? I don't know. I'm just not impressed by Gil Diaz at all.
I mean, it's still early in the season. It's not somebody that I would want him to be pushed into a match against Porto or Sporting, right? If I'm sure he can hold his own against these little mongoose, as our boy Cristiano likes to say, and especially when we've got 8 games in 4 weeks, I think he's been all right so far.
Yeah. Look, Thiago, I don't know if he has potential. I guess any young kid have potential, especially when he's playing out of position and he's being adapted to a new position, right? But I don't know, man. I just think that sometimes his touch is not the best. And then Victor is saying that I think Gil Diaz could be better, but I think Servi was ideal there. The problem with Servi is that he doesn't have the height. And JJ usually likes his fullbacks with some height so they could defend on the weak side when balls are played. So I don't even think that Grimaldo fits the profile that JJ is looking for a fullback. And if you could recall, Grimaldo came in the Vitória days, so he wasn't around when JJ was at Benfica, his first stint. So turning our attention to what brought everyone here in the PSV games, right? So I'll start with the first game played at Stadio Luz. And Dave, we were talking about what's better, to play at Stadio Luz or to play in the Netherlands first. And after seeing this, do you think we would have suffered as much as we suffered today if we had played the second match at Stadio Luz?
No, that the suffering would have just happened. I think it would have been a little bit less calmer on the nerves. We would have had the fan support at home in this second leg here. Playing away in the Netherlands did not help my nerves at all today, and been down that road way too many times as of late with this Benfica in European competitions. My hopes were not high, especially as the match went on. But hey, we finally pulled one out, and we advanced. Not to getting too ahead of ourselves here, but yeah, I think the fan support in the second leg would have helped us through. But then again, you don't know if we're going down to 2-1 into the second leg, right? Everything happens for a reason, but I think it would have been good to have the fan support in the second leg.
Yeah. No, so I'll give you the lineup for that first game. Vlachodimos is in goal. Verissimo, Otamendi, Morato across the back. Gonçalves and Grimaldo. Oh, so there we go. Morato was already in the first leg. Gonçalves and Grimaldo as the fullbacks. Weigl and João Mário, Pizzi and Rafa on the sides of Yaremchuk up front. And look, I think that the first thing that needs to be mentioned about this game was the return of fans to Stadio Luz on a European night. And look, Stadio Luz is a huge stadium. The capacity is for 60 plus. I think that they were allowed 20,000, if I'm not mistaken. I got to be honest, those 20,000 were very loud and very audible. What I have to say about that is that those 20,000 that were there were Benfica fans that wanted to be there, were Benfica fans that wanted to make the most out of their visit in a long time to Estádio Luz. So they were very vocal. I think that Benfica sometimes, in especially before COVID, where the stadiums were getting full, there was a lot of corporate seats. There was a lot of invitations. You saw a lot of people in the crowd taking selfies. They're at the game. They want to show off they're at the game. People sitting down, looking at their phones, playing Fruit Ninja or whatever it is. And I think that in a way that kind of dilutes a little bit of the passion in the crowd of the people that could be at these games that really feel Benfica and are not because they can't find a seat or because some kind of national conglomerate has a block of 30 seats, let's say, and they will invite customers and it turns into some kind of business outing. So it kind of dilutes a little bit from the passion that the fans are there. And again, Benfica has kind of played to that. They have the corporate club, they have the cheerleaders, they have the fireworks behind the goals whenever they're scored. But to me, seeing these 20,000 people and hearing them and knowing that they were there to support the team and they probably never stopped singing from the beginning to an end or supporting the team, it was really nice seeing that, man, especially when you haven't seen that much. But yeah, Benfica started early, and I think that maybe Benfica was just hamped up by the crowd. We got on a scoreboard early, 1-0 by Rafa on an assist for Yaramchuk, and then we would finish the half with 2-0 by Weigl, and we'd go into the half up 2-0. Came back, and I know that both JJ and João Mario have both admitted this, that they gave the ball to PSV in the second half. They allowed PSV to have the ball and to have the initiative, kind of like challenge them, come to us. And I don't know if it was a good idea, because that helped PSV grow in a game. And as they grew in a game, they got more and more confident. They were able to get on the score sheet, and it would eventually really push Benfica. And albeit Benfica was never in trouble and they were able to control, but I think that Benfica shouldn't be that uncomfortable playing at home against a team like PSV. And I'm not saying that PSV is not a good team, obviously, but certainly not at the level of Benfica. And I thought that even though Benfica wasn't superior to PSV over the two legs, you could say that, right? I think that a lot of people will agree with that. But I thought that Benfica probably could offer more, or has more to offer than PSV. But nonetheless, PSV was able to grab one, goes into the second fixture understanding that they have what it takes to beat Benfica, because Benfica just gave them possession of the ball. And we head into the second leg. Dave, any numbers on this first leg so we could move on to the second leg?
Just before we move on to the second leg, you were talking about the attendance being 20,000. Got the numbers, 18,199. I think they're allowed to have 20,000 in the stadium, but due to the whole fan card fiasco, they're not filling that section up. So I think that's what brings the attendance lower. But yeah, that's all I had on this game here.
Yeah. So second leg, right? Benfica travels to the Netherlands, and obviously today we saw something on social media that Benfica had been welcomed with fireworks at 4 a.m. and certainly look, it's never ideal when you have a situation like that, because it disrupts the player's sleep. But look, we're talking about guys that if they wake up in the morning, they're probably napping in the afternoon after lunch, because the game isn't until 8 p.m. So even though their sleep got disrupted, I don't think that would affect the players in terms of, their focus and their rest for this game. But certainly when you do something like that, I think that you kind of set yourself up for some karma, Dave.
Yeah, you do. What's that Portuguese saying? Not to light your fireworks before the festa or something, something along those
Don't
lines.
yeah, don't throw your fireworks before the fest or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks good to bite them back in the ass after afterwards. But these are tactics that you usually see in South America, Central America, when you got international games or your club goes to play in those smaller Central South American countries. So I was a little bit surprised to see that from the Netherlands and the PSV supporters. But looking back on it, it's just a good chuckle, and you can put it back on them now, right?
Yeah, and look, I think that when you see something like that, it kind of it's a little bit of small minded team culture, right? Because anytime you see that is when you're actually intimidated by the team that you're playing, and as a result you try to find all these distractions and these disruptions to the team, hoping that it's going to affect them. So in a way that kind of shows the respect that PSV fans had for Benfica. Nonetheless, it's annoying, but usually those things have a way of coming back around. So was good. I can't complain. Let's turn our attention now to the game. I'll give you the lineup real quick. Vlachodimos was in goal. Verissimo, Otamendi, and Morato, Gilberto, and Grimaldo. So apparently Diogo Gonçalves suffered a knock. He didn't even travel. So Gilberto played at right back. Weigl, Taarabt, and João Mário. And Dave, this is something that we don't see a lot, a midfield trio. So do you think that this was a way for Benfica to kind of try to nullify that PSV center mid with Gotzel? Well, Goetzel, like whatever.
Goetzel, however JJ
Goetzel, yeah.
Goetzel, but yeah, I think that's what everybody was talking about going into the match. The three-man midfield, and especially including Taarabt, who hasn't. I think it's fair to say hasn't been on the best form as of late, but maybe this is just JJ's tactics going into the match, like you said, to kind of nullify PSV's midfield there. But again, before not to jump too ahead, I don't think Taarabt had the strongest of games. Obviously, you can point to the fact that the whole match and the tactics change after the 30th minute after the red card. But yeah, I don't think Taarabt had a. It hasn't been playing at his best lately.
Yeah. Rafa and Yaremchuk were up front, and look, I thought that Benfica started the game well. They knew PSV was going to come at them, and I think that Benfica always remained solid. As a matter of fact, the first really good chance of the game was that Rafa chance, and then Lucas Verissimo, who had picked up a red card in the a yellow card in the 8th minute, picks up a red card in the 33rd minute. And at that point, look, and I know that sometimes with the intent, I'm not making excuses for the guy, obviously, but I know with the intensity of the match, there's a lot of adrenaline going through your veins because a lot is at stake, right? Because I think that there's probably not one player on this whole roster, whether they traveled, whether they played, whether they sat on a bench, that does not want to play in the Champions League. I think every player has ambitions of playing a Champions League, being lined up and hearing the Champions League anthem, so on and so forth. So I think that some of that adrenaline takes over you, and we've seen players make those type of mistakes because it almost seemed that they lose their minds or they're so focused on the game and performing that sometimes they forget what's important. I think that there was a play by that's exactly what happened to Lucas Verissimo, and it's a shame because I thought that Lucas Verissimo has been very good for Benfica. Both him and Otamendi have been good. Morato has been good too in his own right. And I felt that losing Lucas Verissimo was a huge blow for Benfica. And then going down to 10 men, and understanding what PSV was going to bring to you, I really felt that Benfica was going to be in trouble. It was a good thing that we were able to go into the half, and that's what I thought, Dave. Go into the half, let JJ figure out what's going on, let JJ correct some of the positioning, set up the team, and it was just one of those things. Dave, what were you feeling, man, going into the half, down 10 men, and seeing how PSV was?
I like I said before, it's like I've relived these European nights as of lately. I'm not lucky enough or old enough to experience the glorious European nights like you and Cristiano. I'm more with the European nights going badly for us. So I was going with the mindset that Benfica is going to concede a goal in the second half, especially with the amount of pressure that PSV was piling on. Just to backtrack, I want to get your opinion, because and especially with your refereeing background, I didn't think that the first foul, especially so early in the game, warranted a yellow card, especially in the 8th minute. I haven't seen replays of the foul again, so I don't know if it was that harsh of a foul that deserved a yellow card. But I felt it was kind of harsh, especially in the 8th minute, considering the big match. And the referee getting involved and giving a card out that early in the match.
I think, look, you could look at it this way, right? I think that early on, and especially on matches that referees feel are going to be intense in terms of the duels that are going to be on the field, I think that you kind of assert yourself early on as a referee, and you try to control the game. And I'm not obviously a subscriber of, it's only 10 minutes in or 5 minutes in, you're already given a yellow card. No, yellow cards, red cards come out whenever they're supposed to come out. But I think that yes, there was a foul, but I think at the same time, and referees watch a lot of film on players, especially of teams that they're going to ref, obviously, and they know that both Otamendi and Verissimo are guys that like to assert their position very early on. So I thought that was the referee trying to get control, because if he lets that go by, then the next one is going to be a little harsher. It's going to be a little stronger, and then guys are going to be, so you kind of assert your leadership or your command in a game as a referee. You got to make sure that players know that you're in charge. And I just thought that what it was. Right before he picks up the second yellow, he has a play in which the referee warns him. So the warning was there. And then look, I just thought the foul was it could have been avoided, but I think that when you're so used to approaching plays like that in a way that you approach it, it's very hard to kind of forget some of that muscle memory as you go and jump, as you go and open your arms to assert your position or to gain some more leverage in position. I thought that was, it could have been avoided, but really left Benfica on a poor position. Second half, and Dave, I was kind of surprised that JJ had Vertonghen warming up before the half, or right after. Obviously, Lucas was ejected. I was surprised that he didn't start Vertonghen right off the bench in the second half.
Yeah, maybe they went over some discussion. Maybe it's because of Vertonghen coming off injury. Maybe he's not fit enough to play 45. I don't know. We're not privy to that information, but yeah, you would assume if he's fit enough to be on the bench that he should be ready to go. But maybe JJ, like we had said, JJ has the benefit of going into halftime and kind of chatting with the team and going over their tactics there. So maybe that was part of the game plan. See how the game goes to start off the second half, and they were fortunately awarded the opportunity that they didn't concede in the meantime, and were able to still bring in Vertonghen when they did.
Yeah, and I kind of I thought about that too, and trying to find some, because I try to find logic sometimes in the way that JJ does things,
Jeez.
and I felt like my thought was like, okay, well, PSV has seen Vertonghen warm up. Uh, and they're probably expecting Vertonghen to come out right into the pitch at the start of the second half. Let's see how PSV lines up first before we actually make the change. So there could have been something like that where JJ wanted to see how PSV was coming out in the second half, assuming that Vertonghen would be in it. Benfica will be pulling somebody most likely off the midfield to put Vertonghen in. So that was my logic behind it. But João Coutinho brings up a good point. Vertonghen was a high risk to get injured again. Now, obviously, coming off an injury, right, and going being thrown into a game like this with very high intensity. So I don't know, but like Dave said, if he's on the bench, he's ready to play. And granted, it might just be on the bench as a precaution, or if Benfica really needs to throw that fourth center back at the end of the game as you're trying to save the game. But certainly he played, and I thought he played well.
Yeah, he played well, and these are the nights that you love experience from guys like Vertonghen and Otamendi, right? These are two players that are highly capped with their national teams, have played in big important matches in European competitions, right? Not to say that Ruben Diaz and wouldn't be able to do that, but we've seen in the past sometimes Ruben Diaz can lose his head at any moment too, right? So it's great to have those two veteran center backs there, especially given the circumstances that we were playing through tonight.
Yeah, Oscar Taquara Cardozo was saying that Verissimo was very nervous today. Yeah, very possible, because I think that even on the post game presser and scrums, obviously, I think that both Grimaldo and Weigl said that the team really wanted this, and you could see in the players' eyes and the teammates' eyes that the team really wanted this. So there's a level of pressure, obviously, because you really want to do that. We really want to play the Champions League as a player, but also in terms of where Benfica has been in the past, I would say 3-4 months, and how we failed last season in making the Champions League, and how important it is for Benfica to be in the Champions League, not only financially, but also, as I mentioned, for the club's reputation. There was some history there, or some pressure there, coupled with there's probably prizes that these guys would be awarded if Benfica makes the Champions League. Obviously, the Champions League is a big money grab, and there's always game prizes for these players. If you score, if you win, if you make it to the Champions League, there's bonuses that are awarded. So obviously, these guys not only wanted to get in from a competition standpoint where you're playing at the highest level as a club, but also there's a monetary incentive there as a bonus, right? And look, I know
you could also look at it the flip side too. If they don't qualify for Champions League, how many of these players have to be sold to recoup that money too, right? So maybe some of these players are looking at it that they might have to uproot their families out of Lisbon and Portugal, and maybe they had that in their back of their mind too, because we saw that last season when we failed to qualify. We had to sell instead of purchasing players, right?
No, I agree. And if you recall, that's when we lost Ruben Dias, because had we made it to the Champions League, we don't lose Ruben Dias. I mean, even JJ admitted that we lost Ruben Dias because we failed to get past PAOK. So yeah, I don't know if any of those players are in danger of being sold, but it's possible. It's possible that something could happen. It's possible that now all of a sudden with the summer window closing, that some of those guys get put on a shopping window. So I don't know. It's tough, but a lot of guys were nervous. They understood the magnitude of the game. And I think that, the whole club felt the magnitude of the game. I mean, in terms of the goals that were set up this early, obviously with Rui Costa stepping up to take over the president role, one of the things that he mentioned as objectives for the season was, let's get the team prepared. Let's get the modalidades prepared for the season. Let's start the league off on the right foot. Let's make the Champions League. Those are some of the objectives, the most important objectives that were set up by Rui Costa. So understanding that level of expectation and that pressure, it's normal that the players were nervous. But look, when you look at this, at the performance of this team, and as a Benfiquista, I suffered, like many of you, suffered against the ropes in our own half. It was tough, man. It was tough, but I got to be honest with you, Dave. And I was actually trading text with Saucy, and when I saw that ball hit the crossbar on one of the PSV chances, I thought
the only one that they pretty much.
I thought to myself, if you didn't score that, and that kind of reminded him of the Brian Ruiz one, where he kind of had an open net. And I think that if they go to the VAR, I think they use a little bit ahead. It might have been called offside, but he hits the crossbar on that. And I remember texting Thiago and saying, they didn't score now. We got this in the bag. So, look.
I was still nervous up until like 30 seconds before the whistle was blown when the PSV player was called for the handball, and then they pan to JJ, and you saw the players behind JJ starting to celebrate. That's when I think I started to feel a little bit confident that we were going to actually pull it through, but it's still up until the 90 plus minutes. I was still shitting bricks.
Yeah. No, look, absolutely. I thought that it's hard to kind of single out any one player because when you see how much the team ran and the effort they put in, it's hard to single out one player. But yeah, Grimaldo. I think Grimaldo was a little bit embarrassed by how bad he got beat in the first leg, and I thought that from very early on in the game, he was focused on stopping this kid, and he did very well. I thought he did. I thought he did very well. I thought that Weigl. Somebody's already Thiago has already mentioned in the chat that Weigl had a great game. I thought that João Mario again, great game. Yaremchuk, I think he's a guy that's still getting used to the team. But when you go down to 10 players and now all you do is defend, and Yaremchuk is almost put on an island, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him. So I thought that he was probably the one that I was least pleased with, but understanding the situation, now there's not much. I thought that the guys that came in did well under the circumstances. Look, I think that this is not a situation where we're sitting here and saying this guy sucks and this guy is no good or this guy didn't have I think you got to look at it as a team effort. I think the team really wanted to be in the Champions League, and when you want something really bad, good things happen. A lot of guys mentioned how they've been working together for over a year, and the team is finally hitting stride. There was a couple questions that annoyed JJ, especially about Vlachodimos. And again, he was asked about Vlachodimos. He had a good game in the first leg. He had another good game in this leg. He had a good game against Gil Vicente. Look, for me, I think it's just the media trying to feed off something that's not there. Obviously, facts. Vlachodimos lost the spot. In international break, he didn't have two kind of words to say about the club. Comes back this year. Most likely, he's had a meeting with JJ. Was off or was offered. Not that he was offered, but there was an opportunity for him to be the first keeper, right? Or take over the position, because Elton wasn't going to be able to play the first game domestically. So I think that Vlachodimos was given more reps because of that. And look, quite frankly, the guy has grabbed this opportunity. As he played out of his head, absolutely. But that's what we pay him for. We pay him to make those saves. So it's not like when he's asked about Vlachodimos and he says, "Yeah, those were savable balls." Yes, they were. That's why the guy's there, to make those saves. Dave, what do you think, man?
Are you saying Vlachodimos had a come to Jesus moment? Is that what
Literally.
happened
Yeah.
to start the season?
Yeah, he literally had the come to Jesus moment. Look,
Yeah.
I think when there's animosity between the coach and between a player, you kind of have to eat a little bit of humble pie, and you have to kind of address that. Whether it's the player's fault or the coach's fault, it needs to be addressed, and you can move on. Right. So there's been a lot of talk that Vlachodimos was talked about going here, going there. But the fact of the matter is, right now, he's Benfica's number one keeper. And I don't even think that anybody could argue that. And you could argue that he's probably at the same level as Helton, with Helton bringing something different to the table than Vlachodimos does. I think that Helton is better off the posts. And I think that Vlachodimos is better in the posts. So whatever. But the issue is here that the guy has grabbed this opportunity, and I think that that Benfica's actually the Portuguese media is making a lot out of the situation that really doesn't exist. So it's just
they're trying to make something, but JJ's not giving them an ounce of anything. He won't give Vlaco any credit, at least publicly in the media. He's just saying it was a good defensive game by everyone in the defensive sector. He refuses to name Vlaco the man of the match or the man of the last two legs between these two. So JJ's also playing around with the media. He knows what he's doing, and the media know what they're trying to do to pinch and get a reaction out of JJ.
Yeah, look, the media is trying to find a narrative that it's not there, right? And the fact that JJ said, "Oh, those were savable balls," now all of a sudden he's downplaying Vlachodimos, and he could have been playing mind games with Vlachodimos, right? We're saying, well, you had a good game. I recognize the good game. I may have even gave you praise for having a good game within the confines of the locker room, or I didn't. But what I'm going to do is kind of say to in the media, said, yeah, those are savable balls, because I need to keep my keeper motivated. I need to keep my keeper in the running for that position. And if I give him too much praise, maybe he'll get too big of a head and he'll start resting on his laurels while the other guy is working hard, and now he might take you over. So it's within the best interest of JJ that to keep those guys motivated, because the more they push each other, the better they become, to me.
Yeah.
And Bruno is asking, I hope there's no beef. I don't think there's any beef, man. I just think that the media makes too much out of it, man. I really do.
Odysseus said it after the match too. Whatever's happened is in the past is in the past, and he's just looking forward to moving on with this club. I hope that's the case, and there's no hard feelings. I still question some of his decision making when he's coming out for crosses, but you can't deny that the man's a great with his reflexes and able to save the ball when he does.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Look, a great fixture or set of fixtures for Benfica, in which, after last year's heartbreak and how much we had to put up with last year, I think that we needed this. We needed this to start the season, a season which, by the way, is going very well. I think that we haven't had the first 8 undefeated games in a long time, Dave, but you could probably tell me that. But I think that a lot of the fans need this. JJ needs this. The team needs this. Rui Costa needs this. And not that I'm a Rui Costa fan, obviously, but I think that things like this are going to unite people more. And I think when the fans are united and rallying behind the team, regardless of who they support in terms of the directive, I think only the team has to gain from this. And it's very simple. It's very simple. We often say winning cures all, and that's exactly what it is. How
That's what
many
I was.
people? How much have you heard about Rui Costa and Luis Vieira and this and that and offshores? You really haven't. All you really have heard about is Alvaríssimo is playing well. Vlachodimos is playing well. Almuratu has been given an opportunity after Vertonghen went down, and he has done well. A guy that we paid 8 million to come and play for the B team. All you've really been hearing is positives, and it's good. It's good for Benfica fans. Benfica fans like to be happy. They like to see the team win.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's been a while. It's been a while, and I was just gonna say, I think it was Al Davis, a Raiders owner here for our American and Canadian listeners here. You just keep it simple, just win, baby. Right? Winning cures all, like you said. Nobody's creating stories out of nothing. We're not talking about off the field matters. It feels good. Let's knock on wood, pray the rosary, light a candle. Let's keep this up. I know it's still very early on in the season, but hell, we deserve this after the last couple of seasons that we've been put through.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Somebody had said, or actually, somebody had said earlier in the chat, and I caught it. This is kind of shadows of when Benfica played at Juventus. Down a man and was able to pull out that epic qualifying past Juventus to I think that at the time it put us in the finals, right, of the Europa League.
The Europa League, and that was the year that we played Sevilla, and that was in Juventus's stadium as well, the final.
Yeah. And Nelson Carvalho brings up a good point. Is the biggest winner today Rui Costa?
He could call the election tomorrow, probably, and get a unanimous vote, probably at this
point. And that's the thing, man. And here's the thing about what today's win does. Number one, it injects 39 million into your coffers, right? Number two, any players that you had on a holding pattern that were waiting to see if Benfica was going to make the Champions League, now all of a sudden the door is open. So in that aspect, and in terms of how the team could improve in terms of what players can come in, because there's still some positions that are lacking in this team, in this roster. Obviously, I think the fullback position is lacking on both sides. So there's an opportunity that now guys that were in a holding pattern to think that, well, let's see if Benfica plays in Champions League, because I want to play Champions League ball, right? Because as you know, many guys out there, they rather play Champions League ball than Europa League or not be in Europe at all. So this opens a lot to him. It also, any guys that could have been on the fence or could have turned against them in terms of how shitty the team is doing or not making the Champions League again, now he has that support, right? Because for a lot of guys, the most important thing is Benfica win. They don't care at what price. Rui Costa is a huge winner in this one, but I think that the biggest winner in this one is Benfica, because not only for the financial gain, but also because a win like this and a qualification in the Champions League unites the fans. Fans are very excited about seeing this team measure their talent against the biggest talent in Europe. And look, it's going to be tough. We're in pot 3. I believe that the drawing happens this Thursday, Dave. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Thursday, yeah. Do you want me to go over the pots here? I got the different pots up.
Let's do that.
Yeah, in pot 1, we've got Chelsea, Villarreal as the Europa League winners, Atletico Madrid, Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Lille, and Sporting are in pot 1. Pot 2, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, Manchester United, PSG, Liverpool, Sevilla, and Dortmund. I think I saw in the comments earlier that pot 2 might be more difficult than pot 1. Pot 3 so far, Porto, us, Ajax, Leipzig, Atalanta, Zenit. And then in pot 4, We've got Besiktas, Dinamo Kiev, Club Brugge, Young Boys, AC Milan, Malmo, and Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
With three more spots still to be determined after tomorrow's match.
Right. So it's not going to be easy. And look, I think that any team that Benfica will be grouped against, and obviously we don't know until Thursday, is going to be just as good as PSV. I think that pot one, if we're lucky with the draw, obviously we're not going to be able to draw Sporting, but if we could draw Lille hasn't been all that great this season. As a matter of fact, they're still looking for their first win, if I'm not mistaken. But certainly, look, this is where we belong. We belong with the cream of the crop of European competition, and I think that's where we need to be. But look, we've had tough groups. We'd have easy groups where we really haven't done all that much. We really need to get more than 7 points, because I think that the most we've been able to get these past couple of times at the Champions League is 7 points, and 7 points usually doesn't not do it. So we hope that we'll do it now, and I think that now that I think the team could relax a little bit, focus in the matter at hand. We got Tondela coming up, which we'll discuss next, and then we got an international break where the team could finally take a breather from this very extremely busy August. So Dave, any more numbers on this game do you want to bring up, or can we move on?
Yeah, just a quick recap here. This will be Benfica's 16th appearance in the current Champions League format, which started in 92-93. Back-to-back European matches that Benfica hasn't conceded away in European competition. And that's something that hasn't happened in the last 5 seasons, which just goes to speak how dreadful these European away nights have been for the club as of late. And last but not least, Benfica has only allowed 2 goals in their first 7 matches this season. Best defensive record since 99-2000 season.
Yeah. So now we turn our attention to domestic competition. We will play Tondela at Estádio Luz this Sunday at 6 p.m. local. Tondela 1 win, 2 losses. What else has they been up to?
Just historically, 10 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss against Tondela. You touched upon their record so far this year, the 1 win coming against Santa Clara, who's been seems to be resting their players for the Portuguese league and really going for it in the Conference League. And their 2 losses coming against Vizela in Portimonense. They do have Thiago Dantas on Tondela, but I don't believe he'll be eligible to play against us this weekend.
You will not. But quite a few other familiar names here as we face this Tondela. Daniel dos Anjos, who was a center forward for the B team for quite some time. He took a pause because he had problem with his heart. He's back in professional football. Benfica released him. He signed with Tondela. He's been scoring some. I think I saw him at least score 1-2 goals for Tondela in that game against Santa Clara. Jean Murillo was also a player at some point under Benfica contract. And Salvador Agra, one of those deals where Benfica buys and the guy never even wears a jersey for Benfica. So quite a few names that are familiar to Benfiquistas. Look, the biggest thing about this game is coming off an extremely hard game in terms of both mentally and physically against PSV. I hope that there's enough time, and it should be because we're playing on Tuesday and now we're playing on Sunday. I hope that there's enough time that the team could not only rest, but refocus on finishing up this August in a perfect manner or without losing a game in this month of August. That would be really good. And then heading into the international break. And I know that international breaks can sometimes be momentum killers, but I think in this stage of Benfica's season, especially as many games as we played in August, I think that a lot of people at the club are going to welcome this international break. So as we close up, a couple more house cleaning points. First ones was Lucas Waldschmidt sold to Wolfsburg for 12 million. Let's talk about Waldschmidt, the kid that came in last season. That Benfica had great hopes for him, obviously, and if they didn't, they wouldn't have handed him the number 10 jersey. But certainly a German international, a player that had been shining in the Bundesliga, and I think that there's a couple things, right? And I'll offer my opinion. I'll ask yours, Dave. One, he was never able to adapt to Lisbon. Didn't understand Portuguese. He admitted himself sometimes he didn't understand. And I think that he's also a victim of the system change because he played as a second forward. And if you recall, when JJ played with second forward, he was almost the one guy that he was picked. And now going to just the one forward setup and two wide men, now Luka Waldschmidt now all of a sudden loses his place. And I think that he saw the writing on the wall. And I think that JJ says that he wanted to go back home. And look, I don't blame him because he was being called to the German national team. Then he stopped. He was going to go to the Olympics, but Benfica didn't let him go to the Olympics. So that, I don't know if there was another factor that kind of played too much into it. But look, I like the kid. He didn't meet my expectations. He had a bad season, but hey, who didn't have a bad season? I think even the coach had a bad season last season, right? Because it was in a typical season. For God's sake, Sporting won the championship. You want any more atypical than that? So I don't know. I don't know, but certainly there's an adaptation factor there. There's a factor that he's not getting playing time and he wants to get back home. He might be homesick. I don't know, Dave. What do you think?
From a business standpoint, I don't like the loss of the 3 million. If we paid 15 and we're only taking 12, especially we're not talking about a player here that's 30 years old and going into the twilight of his career. Is still a player that is still young and has that potential. So from the pure business aspect, I don't like losing the 3 million, especially with a club like Benfica stature where we're used to flipping these players for a profit. But on a personal aspect, like you touched upon, Alfredo, we don't know, maybe behind the scenes, he forced this move out of Portugal. Like you said, maybe never got used to the Portuguese football, didn't understand Portuguese, and was homesick. So I can understand it from a personal aspect as well. But from a pure business and money and sense aspect, I hate losing 3 million on a player that you could see the potential was there to at least turn somewhat of a profit, if not break even.
Yeah. Well, what Benfica did, and they were kind of smart in doing this, they, whatever intermediary fees were to be paid from the sale of him, Benfica is not responsible for them. So Wolfsburg would have to pay any agent fees. Wolfsburg would also have to pay any formation fees, which is basically whatever club formed or had the rights of formation for Luka Waldschmidt usually gets a cut of the sell. And Benfica kind of in their contract kind of excluded themselves from that. So yes, look, we lost 3 million out of the deal. Didn't work out. Player wasn't happy. I think that overall you kind of have to understand, and I think that there was a lot of expectations for Luka Waldschmidt. He didn't meet the expectations. Very, very simple. I think that's the straightest and most black and white way that we could look at that. So look, I wish him a lot of luck. Obviously didn't work for JJ. Pedrinho didn't work for JJ. He's killing it over Shakhtar. So I wish him a lot of luck, and I hope he does well at Wolfsburg, and maybe one day, you never know. But with young players, it's always tough. It's always tough, and despite having Weigl in the team and another German, and also Odysseus, who also speaks German, couldn't adapt, which I understand that. I understand that. On the reverse, or actually not on the reverse, but coming in, Nemanja Radonjic, winger, right winger, loan from Marseille, Dave? Marseille or Lyon?
Marseille with a 7 million option to buy at the end of the season.
Yeah, from what I've heard about Radonjic is that he's a Rafa 2.0, fast, could dribble, final third lacks a lot of sharpness, and also the decision making in the final third is often not that great. But look, we shall see, because sometimes guys have a way of really adapting and fitting in, and the coaches can pull the most out of them. So I don't know, man. We'll just have to see. But I think that obviously with Pedrinho leaving, we were kind of a little bit short on the wings. So I think that Benfica was looking for the wings. I hope that Benfica is not done here. So
it's a low risk move, right? There's no mandatory fee to buy at the end of the year. If he's being brought in just as a insurance slip on Rafa, I think it's a good get. This was made before knowing whether or not we were going to get the Champions League money, so there is still about a week left before the transfer market closes. Maybe we go out and get another winger, but we've gone to the Serbian well a couple of times in years past, and it's paid off well for the club. So let's see if we can find some more gold in that well here.
The last Nemanja we had did pretty well for us, so let's hope that he could. This guy could do well for us also. So, and like SLB EES is saying, I hear he has no end product. Hope he can at least feed balls to our strikers. Yeah, that's what I heard too, dude. I heard that he's good. He's fast, but in terms of the last ball and decision making in the final third, he lacks. But like I said, I'll hold my judgment until I actually see him play. What else, Dave?
That's all that I had. Anybody, you want to go to the chat, or you want to wrap it up here? Because I've got.
Yeah, we could do either way. Any you guys have any questions? I know that the chat's been going crazy, and it's just been me and Dave here, and I've been trying to keep up with the chat. Usually, when Cristiano is here and he goes on his rants, I could take a look at the chat and keep up with the chat. But with Cristiano not being here, just Dave and I, so I just haven't been throwing as many questions or seen many questions up. I know that they've been engaging.
Yeah, with saying Chris not here, I gotta pull up the stats of victories when when Chris is away from the podcast. Benfica pulls off these victories here, so I gotta pull up some stat here where Benfica's record when Chris is away from the podcast, because I'm pretty sure there's a positive record. Even when Benfica's at their lowest of lows, they turn out to go on these streaks, these winning streaks when Cristiano is away from the podcast.
Dave, you might be onto something, dude. I don't know exactly. Here's all right. Let's Bruno Singer. Is it Singer or Singer? I think I knew somebody in Portugal, a classmate of mine, that his last name was Singer. So I don't know if it's obviously in English is Singer, right? But Singer was in Portuguese. He says, "Do you think that Benfica have a chance to reach the quarterfinals?" Look, I think Benfica is deep enough. I think that if JJ continues to progress this team, that Benfica could have a good chance to come out of the group stage. But look, it's going to depend on who we line up in the group stage, and then if you make it into the knockout stages, it has a lot to do who we draw in that first game. So, do I think that Benfica are extreme underdogs? There you go. It's Singer. Yeah, that's what I thought. Do I think that Benfica has potential to scrap with a lot of teams? I think Benfica does. I think that this is probably the most solid defense that I've seen from Benfica. In terms of João Mario's introduction to the team, he's also been really, really good, and everybody's really seen what João Mario brings. But I think that we probably need another box-to-box guy, because we can't be too dependent on João Mario. What if João Mario gets hurt? Then what? I mean, that whole Benfica midfield will get transfigured because João Mario is not there. So we kind of need another 8. So we were hoping that Maite was going to be, but so far what I've seen from Maite, it has not. It's not impressed me, man. So I hope it's just early adaptation, getting to know the team. I know it's a position that JJ asks a lot of, and it takes a little bit to get adapted to that. But we'll see, man. But so far, he hasn't really impressed me. Nelson Carvalho, where do you think we need to strengthen before the window closes? I'd like to bring in another mid who can back up João Mario. Yeah, just said that. Fullbacks. I know that we were looking at Lazaro from Inter to possibly come in.
From what I'm reading, that everything's agreed upon.
He was just waiting for confirmation of Champions League, right?
Yep. So probably going to be announced within the next couple of days.
That could have been it. I think we don't have to go to the market for a forward. I think that Yaremchuk, he struggled a little bit, especially after that first game. But look, new player, new team, new teammates, demanding coach. I think he's there. So we'll see. Saucy, does Samit get taken off JJ after the last season? He said he needed more time with the team. He's definitely making a case for himself. He made a case for himself when he said that that COVID had really affected the team, and as the team picked up momentum towards the end of the season, but then we ended the season as we did. But certainly JJ usually works on a 3-year cycle, and then second and third years when the teams really start maturing, we start seeing results. So yeah, I think that I think that if he doesn't make it to the Champions League and he has a poor first month, JJ's leash is very, very short. So I think he might have gotten a little bit more leash now that will allow him to do some more. And I don't think JJ is going to go to the Champions League to F around like Bruno Lage and Rui Vitória used to go, like putting in the B team,
the young guys. Yeah. But I think it would have been really unfortunate for JJ if Benfica wouldn't have qualified today based on the circumstances of the red card at the 30th minute. I don't think that falls on JJ, but all the anti-JJ haters would have pulled out their pitchforks and started going after the guy. And I don't think that falls on him when you have a player get the red card in the 30th minute, but any little spark to light their fire, they would have been on JJ.
Yeah, it definitely made things interesting. But he was feeling the pressure. Nelson Carvalho, I'm thinking Eustáquio. Do you guys rate him? I thought that Eustáquio was an interesting player. Obviously, standout player for Canada, as you Canadians all know. I actually thought that before the end of the season, there was a lot of buzz in Eustáquio joining Porto, and then he never did. And I don't know what happened. And if you recall, at the end of the season, Eustáquio's team, and I don't know if it was Passos Ferreira or Tondela that he was playing for, that he picked up a red card.
It was Passos, because that was a big game against Benfica. He got the red card in the 20th minute, and it changed the match, and JJ dug in on him. So I don't know if that's...
Yeah, it was a red card.
Behind that.
It was a red card, and I thought that at that point that he had everything set with Porto, right? And look, he obviously I'm not saying that the guy there was any malice behind the tackle, but certainly it was a numbskull tackle on his part that really affected his team. But I really thought that things were all lined up for him to join Porto, but he never did. I think he's interesting, man. I'd
love to see him on the club. That's just my Canadian bias in me, because God, it would be so it would be terrible for me to cheer for him on the Canadian national team if he put on the blue and white kit instead. So I'd love to see him in a Benfica kit.
Yeah. Yeah, Sergio Siqueira is also saying I like Maite's ability to win the ball in the middle of the field. He dribbled a bit too much today, though. I just think that today Benfica was trying to hold the ball, and because every time Benfica got the ball, it was a boot. Somebody was booting it, and they were coming right back down our throats. So he's trying to hold the ball. Obviously, that's understandable. I don't know. The jury's still out on him. Anyway, next week we'll be back. We'll break down the Tondela game. We'll also look back at August. And with the international break looming, we'll look back at August and see how Benfica has done this August. Thanks everyone for those of you that took the time to be in the chat, and the conversation was good. I saw that it was great, and follow us and listening to us at 87DO87 at Benfica Podcast, or you can find us on Twitter and all that those other social media channels. Anyway, thanks everyone. Talk to you next week. Later.
Ciao.